So I'm one of the founders of Dragon. It's a firm that's owned by management, 25 years old this year. We're about 120 people. And our job is investing in Vietnam. Our job is bringing Vietnam to the world. Our job is to link Vietnamese companies with principally international capital. And we do that through a range of funds backed by a research-driven approach. And we are a sort of team-based group of investors. We've been doing so for a long period of time. Our longest track record is 19 years equity return of 11.5% a year. That's net of all fees and FX. And we have a 10-year track record of investing in fixed income, and that's a return of about 9% a year. So we're 25 years old, and we look forward to the next 25 years. It's a long way away from Britain, but it's a big country. If Vietnam was in Europe, it would be Europe's biggest country. It's 94 million people, growing at 1 million people a year. So it's a lot. And the population has been growing very fast. So its demographic shape is peculiarly appropriate to those of us who look at investing in the consumer sector and a productive workforce and lower burdens of social care on the aged or the very, very young. It's in East Asia. It's a Confucian country, so shares a lot of the common cultural features that one finds in Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. That's to say, high focus on education, high savings rates, continuity, political stability. And for these reasons, Vietnam's been very successful in attracting a lot of foreign investment. In fact, FDI as percentage of GDP is the highest of any Asian country, and has been so for a long period of time. And that in turn has generated a large exporting country. So exports last year were 100% of GDP. It's a very, very open and successfully exporting economy. The equity market has demonstrated a successful few years, which should put to rest some of the doubts that people might have about it being a far distant frontier market. Equity market capitalization has surged from $60 billion to just under $190 billion today. That puts Vietnam on the map as comparable with most other emerging markets. That's also true in terms of the number of investors, the shares of daily turnover, etc. The market represents reasonably good value, that's to say unchallenging value, earnings growth of 15% or so a year, historically higher than that, but going forward, and price earnings ratios just above 10 to 12 going forward. So growth not overly challenging, and of course very recently Vietnam's been in the spotlight because people see that Vietnam is a very significant beneficiary from the tensions in the economic relationship between China and the US, and that indeed is true. It's now clear that Vietnam is picking up trade and investment flows that are falling out from that troubled relationship.
I cannot tell you a short-term volatility. However, if I take the view on the 5 to 10 years horizon, I think I can give you some ideas on that. On the 5 to 10 years horizon, I would say Vietnam have probably 4 characteristics which will support 6.5 to 7% of growth easily. Number one is a middle class formation. By the year 2020, we should have roughly 33 million people in the middle class. That will drive consumption behavior a lot. Number 2 is the infrastructure development. In the next 5 to 10 years, I think Vietnam will be probably number 1 country in the region have the investment on infrastructure as percent of GDP, highest one. Number 3 factor is the private sector taking command of the economy instead of the state-owned enterprise, and that is very productive and efficient for the economy. Number 4, I think is Vietnam is going to be probably the big powerhouse of manufacturing globally. We are research-driven, value for growth approach. We have the biggest research team on the ground compared to our competitor. And given the 25 years of history and also the biggest AUM in Vietnam, we do have advantage for new generation and new power. I would say 100% of our portfolio position is on the domestic economy, in which we are very overweight on consumer. We are invested really big in terms of urbanization and also on the banking sector. In the last 3 years, we have the mandate. Our mandate is 3 years rolling performance, and we are the best one compared to all the peer group in Vietnam.